Jake, when you look at Texas A&M, we know they hit the glass really hard, and I just wonder how you've prepared. That's kind of my enduring memory from last season when you played them, was how well they rebounded. How do you prepare for that challenge, and what do you think you guys have that can match what they bring to the glass?
Yeah, they've finished as the best offensive rebounding team in the country last year, and with a lot of returners.
Yeah.
And they add Payne from Minnesota, who's a good offensive rebounder. So it's going to be a huge key to the game. We worked on that. We did some live rebounding stuff yesterday. We'll continue to talk about some things. They rebound well on the free throw line and all that. So it's a point of emphasis certainly going into the game. We know we're going to have to battle. We could play bigger at times. I think to hopefully maybe combat that some.
That's going to be my next question. How comfortable are you? You've talked about using multiple bigs together at times. We haven't seen that a ton yet, but how much have you been able to work on that? And what's your comfort level if you do see two traditional centers on the court at the same time?
Yeah, we practice playing bigger, I think, most every day. We change lineups up in practice and things, so I think we're prepared to do it.
Okay.
How much does the Texas game, I know it was a neutral site and whatnot, but at least help prepare, especially some of the younger guys, for a game like this? It'll be a more true road environment, but a tough team.
Yeah, going against I think a talented team in Texas and a physical team with older guards. Certainly their youngest guard played really well, but that was important. Listen, Texas A&M was preseason ranked where they were for a reason, and really you go back and look at that game they lost at UCF. It was very easily could have been won by them too. So they're a really good team, and I think playing against Texas, even going all the way back to the exhibition we did against Cincinnati, both those things, should help us be ready for this one tomorrow.
Kind of going off of that, talk about the timing of these kind of games where you're playing top-ranked Texas and you've got A&M. Kind of how is that maybe beneficial for you guys?
Yeah, well, I think, listen, one, we get invited to be a part of big games, early in the season, and I think we owe it to our fans and ourselves really to, put ourselves, see where we're at against other good teams, certainly early, because I think that, even we got a great result obviously against Texas, but we learned a lot about ourselves, from that game going up against such a high quality opponent. And I also think home games are great. We obviously have one coming up with Pittsburgh later in the year, and the non-conference is part of a return, obviously. So I think that's a great thing too for fans in the non-conference to be able to have those type of games. So we want to be a part of those. Want to continue to schedule aggressively in the non-conference, and maybe not 2 out of your first 3 typically is ideal, but it's the way it fell this year, and I think our guys are excited about it.
You talked about Junie's confidence last game. Is that something that could become really infectious between the team in the long term, especially in a game that's pretty highly ranked between 2 ranked opponents?
Yeah, we have to play with confidence, collectively, and I want our guys individually to play with confidence. He doesn't have much of an issue with that, as everyone can see. But I think all our guys are playing with a great deal of confidence right now, and you need that. Again, this game's going to come down to, players got to step up in games like this, because it's going to be physical. It's going to be. They have really good players. We have really good players. We'll be prepared from a scheme standpoint, but ultimately, games like this can oftentimes be decided by really good players stepping up and making really big plays.
Do you think that confidence has fueled the great three-point shooting start you guys have had?
Yeah, I think it plays a part, but I also think we have good shooters.
Yeah.
I think we work on it every day. We work on shooting every day. I'm a big believer in skill development every single day and really all year long. A lot of times it's talked about in the off season, but we work on it in practice every single day. I think our guys are playing with confidence right now, which certainly helps. But I also think we have good shooters, and we have a lot of guys who work hard to be able to earn the right to make shots, come game time.
What's going to be important for sustaining those kinds of numbers from outside?
Yeah, I guess if to sustain exactly where we are throughout the course of the season would probably be historic.
Yeah, right.
I think the biggest thing for us is making sure we're manufacturing the right shots, being aggressive. But I think we have a great versatility to where we don't have to just shoot a bunch of threes, or we don't have to just, play through the paint. We can adjust, as we've shown really through these first 2 games, to be able to adjust kind of what the game calls. And the biggest thing for us is guys playing to their strengths. I think you're starting to see that develop, and that'll evolve a little bit through the first handful of games. But that's going to be important for us too, to remain efficient. Guys got to play to their strengths.
You guys played against Taylor last year, and they've added a guy from SMU, Phelps. Just looks like their backcourt is pretty strong again this year. You guys saw it firsthand when you played them here last year.
Yeah, really good backcourt and front court for that matter. They're a deep team. I think Henry Coleman being back, and talked about the addition of Payne and Carter, who is transferred, a multi-year transfer, who's in their system now for another year. So I think they're a really good team, and they have depth both on the perimeter and inside.
Coleman feels like he's got that kind of size and veteran experience that could maybe give the young guys you've got a little bit of trouble. Just how do you support those guys and prepare them for the challenge of going against older, stronger guys, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a collective effort for us. They're certainly, out-experience us in the front court, right now. But I like the growth that our guys have shown so far this, early in the season. We've got no reason to believe that anything other than they're going to continue to get better and better. So I'm excited. It's a good kind of game within the game to monitor. But I think we're up for the challenge.
Understanding that you guys have both changed roster-wise, how much do you look back at last year's game this week?
Definitely watched it, and I think you're watching some of the things that they do from a scheming standpoint. Just because it was on the sideline for that game, so there's an intimacy to it when you go back and watch that film that you can't experience with other games. But they are a different team, although they have some returners who were really important for them last year. But I think for us, being able to just really lock in on what they've shown this year so far, while also reviewing tape from last year. Usually through the first 5, 6, 7 games, you're going to watch some significant tape from the last season, regardless of if you played them or not. But for us right now, we've got some data now through a few games to really lock in, make that probably the priority, but also go back and reference some stuff from last year.
You know what the environment will be like, and like you said, home and home games, how enjoyable those are, how good those are for the sport. How important is it for you guys that you have third-year Bruce, you have fifth-year Michi, you have a backcourt you're not starting freshmen out there?
Yeah, well, and Micah, Quez, and I think, but you also look at even our front court guys, Aaron, Devin. Evan obviously has a ton of experience. Aaron, Sean, Devin, those guys have all played in big-time games, in big-time road environments. Maybe not, consistent minutes like some of those other guys, but they've all experienced it. So it's certainly valuable. But like we've talked about from the beginning, relying on the experience of our guards is going to be important.
Yeah, and that was kind of more what I was asking, the confidence that you must have going into a game with an experienced backcourt, as opposed to if you had a bunch of new guys or a bunch of freshmen. Like I imagine it would feel a little different.
Yeah, it helps. I've said this before, it helps me sleep just a little bit better at night with the experience we have in the backcourt.
You guys signed 2 players yesterday. Can you tell us a little bit about Amare and about Dorian and kind of how they got on the radar?
Yeah, I think, well, obviously known Dorian for a long time and followed him closely for a few years, and really excited for both of those guys about the versatility and positional size they bring. Both of them can play multiple positions. They can guard multiple positions. They have versatile offensive games, especially I think Amari, when you look at kind of what he can do on the perimeter and on the interior, it gives us a great deal of flexibility. And both of them too are great kids. I think who they are as people, certainly who they are as players, it aligns with how we want to play, the athleticism and the versatility, but also aligns with what we're about, as a program. So Amari, didn't know him as long, saw him in person, really focused on him in person for the first time in top 100 camp. Okay. And he became a significant priority for us from that moment on.
What was it like building that relationship then so quickly to where he's ready to commit to you guys?
It was easy to connect with him. because he's such a great young man. Family's awesome. We had an awesome visit, and it felt natural. I think chemistry. Certainly, he and I, but I think he and the rest of our staff and some of our players. So, and then we try to take a collective approach to recruiting, certainly, but I think Jamal Walker deserves some credit for just really kind of honing in on that connection as well. But the way we recruit, it's very much a team game, and I thought our staff did a great job, with those guys, and our staff did a good job getting in. Dorian's commitment came earlier, shortly after became head coach, and even after he committed, I feel like our staff's done a great job just connecting with him and the people around him.
Obviously, can't talk about specific guys, but any more additions you're looking for in the recruiting class?
Yeah, I think for me, philosophically, I want to have. I want to have flexibility come springtime. I think that's important. We'll see. I'm really comfortable with who we have coming in right now, but it's all about, at this point, the right fit. And if the right fit is there, I think it's something we would look to add, but we're not going to force anything, at this point, because I think there's a great deal of value, and we've seen, with the quality of players and people we were able to bring in the transfer portal last spring. I just think having that flexibility is important, and we know we're going to lose, some guys certainly with exhausting their eligibility. But at that point, I think being very specific and calculated with who you bring in becomes really, really important.
A bit off topic, but does being ranked, does that mean anything for you guys, for you as a program, or you personally, or do you just not think about that?
I haven't really thought about that and thought about it in that way. I think there's certainly, it can be meaningful from the standpoint. I think I'm just happy our guys get some sort of validation publicly for the work they put in and what we feel is a really good team that has the potential, to be a good team. But I think in college basketball more than ever, it's hard to figure out who should be ranked, before the season starts, and probably, throughout the first month or so of the season, because there's just so much newness. But, I also think it's good to be rewarded for quality wins, but I hadn't really given that a lot of thought. For us, didn't really give much thought to whether we were ranked or not going into the season, because we just, as a staff, we really believe in this group. And, we also know this group has continued to grow, but we also feel like, we have a lot of room to grow, which is exciting. But that's what it's about for us, is continuing to prepare well, continuing to focus on getting better. And if we can do that, obviously where you end up in March is significantly more important than where we are right now.
It's time for one more.
As someone who made a name for yourself a bit in recruiting and recruiting some really high level guys, how has recruiting for this early signing period changed over the years? With portal now, and things are just, the sport seems rather different. But what's different to you in your mind, like recruiting and trying to figure out getting guys in the spring versus the fall, and how that all fits together?
Yeah, I just, there's certainly there's different factors that go into recruiting. I think priorities have changed, and rightfully so, when young players and families make decisions, and it's a good thing. I think the way that the sport has moved overall is a good thing, in my opinion. I also think now, because of the portal, no longer having to sit out when you transfer, it also, having that kind of flexibility we talked about in the spring is really valuable. It's valuable for players, certainly, that's been well documented, but I think it's valuable for coaches as well. And we're fortunate, listen, like we have great support from the foundation and NIL in general from Buckeye Nation, so that, which allows us to do that to some degree. So I just think it's changed, certainly, so you have to change with it. And really what we're trying to do is kind of be cutting edge, be on the front of things, and not be so reactionary. Obviously, there's only so far you can take that as we wait to see for some of these rules to be ironed out and how the landscape's going to be different. But for us, I think the way the score is moving, it's moving in a positive direction. But that also is just things are different. I don't know how much you can do 5, 6 man freshman classes anymore. In the past, maybe you could rely on that a little bit more. And maybe sometimes freshmen now are, you're looking at freshmen more in the spring than maybe you would have in the past as well. So it's evolving, and we're evolving with it. All right, thanks guys.
Thank you, Jake.
Appreciate it, yeah.